What's going on, guys? I'm Commander RestlessCorpse. Welcome back to Elite Dangerous. This is episode 77, and I am, at this moment, in a system with 4 water worlds in a row. So I'm going to knock those out. But there's a couple things that I want to talk about. First of all, Reddit has gone crazy today. Because it is April 1st, I'm not going to be doing any kind of, like, April Fool's stuff or anything like that. I'm not that witty, guys. I'm not that funny. But it's like the subreddit went crazy. Everybody, I guess the moderators changed everybody's like display name to David Braben, so everybody was posting like they were David Braben. It was crazy. Like I don't know. I was at work tonight, so I was browsing Reddit on mobile, and it didn't change for mobile. So at first I didn't know what the hell everyone was talking about until I kind of got the gist from a couple of the posts or whatever. Also, apparently SDC was posing as Iridium Wing, and they all changed their like flare to Iridium, like iWing stuff. I don't know what's going on with that, but I think I may have gotten an invite to join SDC. I don't know. That's not something I'm even thinking about at the moment, but it was funny anyway. Had something to do with cookies. But there was something very important on Reddit. Now, the thread itself didn't really get a whole lot of traction, but it's something that I think is important. Now, the question was, why don't we have, it was like, playing like I'm 5 or whatever, why don't we have credit transfers? Now, I was one of the first people to comment on this, and I said simply, it keeps the RMT gold farmers out of here. Now, that's kind of something that I want to talk about today, and I want to talk about, I guess you can call them credit farmers in Elite Dangerous. Luckily, we don't have that problem. And to be honest, the fact that we can't trade credits is a big reason. Now, I play a lot of MMOs. Or I have played a lot of MMOs. I only play one at the moment. It's Final Fantasy XIV. But on Final Fantasy XIV, guys, this is a ridiculous problem. You cannot go anywhere in Final Fantasy XIV without getting, spammed by intels. Tell is like the whisper or the private message or whatever in the game. You cannot go anywhere without getting absolutely spammed intels. And the worst part about it is it makes a crazy makes a little chime when you get a tell. So you're just hearing it over and over and over, and you get all excited because you think somebody sent you a message, and then you look at your chat log and it's just this advertisement from these gold sellers or gil sellers, I guess, in Final Fantasy. And it's a very big problem. But we're going to go over why I think, and this is something that I put on the thread, why I think that it's a good decision to not let us trade or transfer credits between each other. Now, before I get into it, don't get me wrong. I wish we could, because as someone else stated in the thread, it cuts down on a lot of potential player interaction and cool things that we can do. It cuts down on things like being able to pay people to be bodyguards, or, pay people for specific items. Like, let's say you have a quest to get palladium and you don't know where to get it, or you don't know how to get it, or you don't have a ship that's available to do it, but you want to do it. You can pay someone else to go get it done. Now, there are ways to actually pay people. Obviously, you can buy things off of the market and, jettison the cargo and they pick it up. It's just like paying, because you sell the stuff back for the same amount that you bought it for. So it's like, if you want to give somebody 1,000,000 credits, you just buy 1,000,000 credits worth of goods and give it to them. But that takes forever, guys. Seriously. And that's actually something I'll be talking about in a second, if I remember. That was like an argument to what I said in the thread. But anyway, let's talk about gold sellers, gil sellers, credit sellers, the RMT in general. Now, some of you might not have ever played an MMO before. I'm not counting Elite as an actual MMO because there are so many different things that kind of prevent it from being a true MMO. But if you've ever played an MMO that had gold sellers in it, it's the reason that people would even do it, and that was the last water world. So I think it is time to go. That was 4 in a row. It was pretty good. I actually have a course set right down to like onto the galactic plane. Now what I did was I went to Sagittarius A on the map, and then I just moved over and like in a straight line to where I thought that I could go set a course there. And that is the course that I've got going on. It is 18 jumps. It's about 520 light years. I've already done some of them, so it was like 24 total or something like that. But okay, so let's take a couple of the impacts of RMT that aren't that serious, at least in my opinion. Now, the first one is obviously something that was brought up in the thread as well. Paying real money for in-game currency is like a cheap way out. Like, you're not working for it. You're not, and this isn't that bad, to be honest, because the argument is that somebody would buy this money and have an advantage because they'd be able to go and buy the best stuff right off the bat. And yes, that is a problem when it comes to a PvP heavy game like Elite. If somebody could right out of the gate buy an Anaconda and A-rate it, at, combat A-rate it and go around interdicting people and attacking them and whatnot, yes, that could be a problem. Now, the difference here, or the like bullet point here, is that if somebody's just started the game and they immediately get into an Anaconda and A-rate it and go around like trying to fight people, they don't have the practice that everyone else has. So it's very likely that you're going to be able to blow that new shiny new Anaconda away and leave them at the rebuy screen. So, to be honest, that's not really that big of a deal. At least not to the veteran players of Elite. If some new person who's got a couple hours under his belt buys, or like, Anaconda, sure. Let's take like a Federal Assault Ship or a Clipper or something like that. And they come at you and they've only been playing the game for a couple hours. You are going to wipe the floor with them. Even I could probably wipe the floor with them, even though I am out of practice with combat because I've been out here in the black so damn long. And even then, before that, I didn't have a whole lot of practice with PvP. So that's not really a problem. I don't mind that at all. Some people say that they're going to get salty about it because they had to work for their stuff and you didn't. And I get that. And that is a problem. But it's not that big of a problem, guys. The second problem is that taking that same excuse, or like that same example, somebody who's been playing for a couple hours or just started out buys enough credits with real money to get the best ship, the best ships and the best modules and stuff like that for them. And then they immediately go out there and they don't know how to dock and they crash and they blow it up and they're left at the rebuy screen. Now, let's say they bought just enough to buy that. Now they're back in their Sidewinder. What are they going to do? They're going to go and they're going to buy even more, and it's going to start a cycle. And is when these gill seller, or I'm going to be calling them gill sellers because that's what that's what I've been dealing with the last 3 years now. That is going to send a message to these gill selling companies that, oh shit, there's a market here. So they're going to be pushing even harder. As soon as more, it's kind of like a catch-22 or like a paradox or whatever, like a vicious cycle. The more people buy, the more people they're going to employ to sell. So that in turn ends up populating an entire game with thousands of these gold sellers. And that's kind of what happened with Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14 and WoW and just all these other games that I probably didn't play, to be honest, but I know that it's a problem. I don't know if Eve has this, but Eve is something that they bring up a lot. That is a problem. But there are a couple more very serious problems with RMT, gold sellers, and guild sellers, and all this stuff. And that is these companies. Now, I don't know if it's the same with most games, but in the Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14, most of these companies are Chinese companies. Now, the reason that is because China doesn't necessarily have laws that govern this kind of stuff. And I'll get to that in a second. But these the people that work for these companies, this is their livelihood. You know what I mean? I just hit M because I'm dumb. This is their livelihood. This is what they do for a living. They sit on these games, sometimes 18, 19 hours a day just farming this currency so that they can get money for it. Like, I guess, I don't necessarily know how it works. Maybe they get a commission on it, or maybe they sell their currency to the website, who in turn sells the currency to players. But this is what they do all day. And the more currency that they farm, the more money they're going to make. And they're, sometimes they're trying to make ends meet, so they need as much as possible. They have families, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get into the morality of it, because I think it sucks. I think that, well, we'll get into it in a second. But what I'm getting at is these people will do anything in their power to get this, as much of this currency as possible to make their money. And that includes griefing, that includes cheating, that includes hacking, that includes botting. These people, from my experience, because I've had to deal with these guys for a long time in various games that I've played, they don't give a shit about you. They give a shit about getting their gold or their gil or their credits or whatever. So, and this is really a big problem on Final Fantasy 14. Like, there's bans going out every month. You report these guys, and sometimes it takes a while, but they usually get banned because they're hacking. They're hackers. They're cheaters, and they ruin the gameplay for everyone else because they are working their asses off to get this currency to sell. Now, in a game that is competitive like Elite, that would have actually pretty dire consequences if they're hacking all the time. I guess, to be honest, they could just go into solo and nobody would ever see it, but that's not the point. They're hacking and they're cheating. That is what I take as not really the main reason that RMT is bad, but maybe the second reason. Because the main reason is a lot of these places that they advertise, a lot of these websites are actually malicious. So, and I've been hearing about this for over a decade, back in Final Fantasy 11. These advertisements that you get when you go to these sites generally have Trojans or phishers that will get your information. And sometimes even if you buy from these websites, obviously because it's a website, you have to enter in credit card information. They will outright steal your credit card information because they are based out of a country that does not have laws against this. Do you understand? And there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to be very, 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 very careful when buying from RMT sites. Now, here's what they do with that information. Generally, what they'll do is they'll take your information, because most games like this, your accounts are that's how your secret question, all that stuff is in your account information, like your credit card information. If you call the support, generally they will verify who you are by your account information. So if they steal your financial information from buying from them on these sites, they have their key into your account. All they do is they have to call your, they call or email. Let's take Elite Dangerous, for example. They would call Frontier. They would say that there's a problem. They would give them your information that you gave them while buying from them. And now they're in your account. Now they change your password, so you can never log back in. They, in the case of Final Fantasy, what they would do, and I might have some footage from Final Fantasy that I can show you of these skill sellers in my chat log and stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that, but there are. So at least in Final Fantasy, most of the guild sellers that you see, if they're a straight up guild seller account, their names look like they rolled their fingers across their keyboard. The names don't make sense, or just a bunch of letters thrown together, because they create so many of these accounts that obviously they're not going to think of real names for each account. Now, it's easy to spot these guys generally because they dual and triple and quad box these things so that they can have a whole bunch of people following each other around doing the same thing and making the money, especially when it's a game like, say, Elite, where the money that you can make comes from nowhere. It's money generated by the game since this does not have a player economy, this money is generated by the game. It doesn't come from anyone. So there's an infinite revenue source. You do missions, you get money. That money doesn't come from anywhere. It's generated. So they make multiple accounts. And because they make multiple accounts, it's just gibberish. Their names are just gibberish. But sometimes you will get an advertisement from a name that looks like it used to be a name, but it has a couple letters added to the end. These are hacked accounts. Now, the reason that you know these are hacked accounts is because these, as a matter of fact, I once got a message, an advertisement message from a name that I knew, that I used to play with, that's, as far as I knew, stopped playing, but it had like WZ at the end. And it's sad because I knew that person before I guess they got hacked. And the reason they do this, because once they... Well, hold on. That is a water world. I think this is an ammonia world. Yes. All right, so we're going to go get these two. The reason they do this is because after they get your credit card information and stuff like that, and they gain access to your account, they'll change your password, and then they'll change the name so that you can't... you don't know what the name is anymore. So you actually cannot get help from support because you don't have the correct username and you don't have the correct password. And they've changed your financial information over to one of their credit cards. So you literally have lost your account and there's nothing that can be done. So not only do RMT ruin the game in the sense that it's not fair because people are buying, money and not working for their money and, getting an unfair advantage over everyone else, they are actually malicious out of the game. They will steal your accounts, all of your hard work. So if you think that it sucks because somebody did work for their stuff, think about the people who have lost their accounts because of this. Yeah, you might say, it serves them right for doing that, but nobody deserves that. Nobody. And RMT accounts, they don't care. If they hack your account, that's just one more account they have to make more money. Or, a lot of these sites actually sell accounts as well. And almost every account that you will find on like eBay or their website in general are probably a hacked account that they hacked and changed all the information for. Oh, that is not what we're doing. We have an ammonia world to go to now. So that is obviously a problem. Now another problem is an in-game, like I mentioned, the spamming. I see Reddit posts all the time bitching about these NPCs from missions that up in the upper left, the chat window, it'll be like, "Oh, I'm so glad I found you," or blah blah blah. Will you drop down and talk to me? And everybody is so tired of these because it's spammy. And you have a bunch of missions, you get a bunch of messages. Now, take that and think about getting messages from 20 different people every 3 seconds, just spamming as fast as they can. Generally, these RMTs have like a third-party program that will spam for them. They'll just find a list of names, or, I assume it will be more difficult in Elite because I guess you can't really search for, who's in what area. But I'm sure that they can find a way. And they'll just put a giant list of names in this list, and this program will just send them messages over and over and over and over and over. And the only way to get rid of it is to block them. But every time you block them, there, are 20 other ones that will take up the mantle. Then you end up having to block a whole bunch of people. It's a big problem in Final Fantasy XIV because the block list only holds up to 200 names. So when you fill that up, you can't block anymore. You got to delete some names to put more names in, and it gets crazy. And if it hasn't been long enough, then the previous names that you deleted will continue sending you messages because nothing tells them that you've blocked them. So they're just going through the motions. So think about all the messages you get from these mission NPCs and multiply it, because that is what will happen if RMT takes over this game. I'm sure they'll find a way to get lists of names. I mean, all you have to do is go on Reddit and check people's flair. Write down everybody's flair and you've got names. You can, send messages to people all over the place. RMT is bad news, guys. Bad news. And I honestly, as I said in the thread, would rather not be like, I would rather miss out on all these cool player interactions we could do with, you know, RP or stuff like that, being able to like pay people to do things for you, or bodyguard services, or, you know, like I said in the video a couple days ago or yesterday, I don't remember, that player groups paying explorers to sell data at certain places. It would be so much easier if you could just transfer credits, assassination targets, things like that. Remember many videos ago we were talking about that? Everybody's putting contracts on each other. It'd be so much easier if you could just transfer credits to somebody's account. But I am happy giving all that up so that I do not have to worry about RMT. RMT is a scary thing, guys. And if you've never had to deal with it, you might not understand. But it is bad. It ruins the experience. It's very difficult for me to do anything on Final Fantasy in regards to like YouTube, because every single moment I'm getting these chimes from getting these tells from these RMTs. And yeah, I could just set myself on busy status and they wouldn't be able to send me any tell, but then I wouldn't be able to get tells from any of my friends. You know, it's just, it's a slippery slope, guys. Once again, I would rather have it the way we have it than have to deal with that. Now, some people say that Elite Dangerous isn't a big enough game. Like, there aren't enough people playing it for RMT to give a shit. Listen to me. If the market is there, they'll do it. I know this because games like Final Fantasy XI, which are small games now, still are riddled with RMT. Like, Final Fantasy XI is actually almost done. They're wrapping the game up. They're going to stop making content for it. They're going to end the game, and RMT is still all over it. Final Fantasy XIV, when it was new, you couldn't go into a city and see local chat. You couldn't read anything on it because there were hundreds of RMTs just spamming the local chat, and it would just the spam would just fly by so fast and you couldn't see anything else. You had to block everyone. It is terrible, guys. It's terrible, and if you've never had to deal with it, I guess it's hard to believe how terrible it is. But RMT ruins games, and not because of the moral ramifications of cheating, quote unquote. It's because the RMTs themselves, the gold sellers themselves, ruin the game. Also, some people say that Elite already has this, already has people selling accounts, and one of the like arguments to my comment was that if RMT were going to be here, they would be already, because you can already kind of pay people by, you know, buying cargo and jettisoning the cargo and letting them pick it up. Listen, I know you think that is true, but you must not know how RMT works. They are like, their whole plan, or their whole purpose, or their whole like reason, their whole like MO is fast. Time is money. You buy, they get you your product, which is your gold or your gil or your credits. They give it to you, done, on to the next one. You know how long it takes to transfer cargo in this game? It takes forever. No self-respecting RMT website or company is going to do that, because it takes too long. And the longer they spend giving you your cargo, that means they're making other customers wait, and they're losing money. Not only that, they cannot guarantee that you are going to bring a ship with cargo or collector limpets. And if you don't bring collector limpets, then they have to wait for you to manually grab all your cargo. And that is going to take absolutely forever. Yes, they can tell you in their message or whatever after you buy that, you know, please bring a ship with enough cargo, and please bring collector limpets. But that doesn't mean that you're going to. And if they're going, they're not going to cancel the sale because you didn't bring your stuff, because they've already spent their time. So then they're gonna have to wait out there, and they have to wait for you to get all your stuff. And I guarantee you that no company worth their weight in anything in the RMT company business type thing is going to deal with that shit. It's too much hassle. They will not do it. But the minute you add credit transferring and make it instant, or even if it takes a long time but you set it and then it does it, The minute you have that ease of use, that ease of transferring, you're going to get RMT in this game. Please don't do it. Please. I understand that people, you know, they want it because they want to be able to do these things, and I want it too. I think it would be great. I think piracy would be so much easier because, remember, that is ultimately the goal of this game. Piracy would be so much easier if I could interdict someone and say, transfer 1 million credits into my account or I will fucking kill you. Yes, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. Give me your money. You know, hold somebody up, bug them, say, give me your money. That'd be great. But again, if I have to sacrifice that to keep RMT out of a game that I love, then that's what I'll do. And I will happily sacrifice that. I may have forgotten some points, guys, because I never really write down an outline or anything like that. I just talk. I talk. And sometimes I forget shit. So there may have been other points that I had. If there are, then maybe I'll address them in the next video. But that is my RMT rant, guys. That is why I am glad that we are not able to transfer credits. We're 7 jumps away, but that's about all the time I've got. I've been talking for like 26 minutes. So, if you like this video, guys, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see more videos of Elite Dangerous or any of the other videos that I've done, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you have anything to say, throw it down in the comments. If you agree with me or you disagree with me, I'd love to get into a discussion about it. Let's talk about it. What are your views? What are your points? What do you have any experience with RMT? Have you been burned by it before? Would you buy credits in this game if it were available from like gold sellers, and even if you could find a reputable source? Let's say, for the sake of argument, you could find a reputable source that you knew was not going to hack you. Would you do it? Would you buy it? What do you think? Do you have morals against that type of thing? Do you think it would be cheating? Let's have a discussion about this, guys. Throw it down in the comments. In any case, I'm Commander RestlessCorpse. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Eject. 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 Eject.